Is August 2nd, 2024, and this is Coffee with Community Services, Alta California Regional Center's weekly service provider meeting. My name is John Decker, the Director of Community Services, and thank you for joining us today. We've got 54 folks on. We'll do introductions of staff, and then we'll get into our agenda. So we'll start with staff first. Good morning. I see on Marty and Ethan, good morning. And I see for our client services manager, Cindy is on this morning. Good morning, Cindy Lay as well. And from community services, I see Christine and Alejandra, and I see our managers, Helen and Scott and Jordan are on this morning. Michelle's not going to be on today. We have Shauna from Community Services. Good morning, Shauna. And from Client Services, one of our managers, Max, is on as well. Good morning, Max. Let's see. We have Michael, who you will all be getting a presentation from shortly. And we have Rhonda on, our housing specialist. Good morning. From Client Services, we have our Associate Client Services Director, Kanisha. Hello, Kanisha. Good morning. And we have Christy from Community Services as well. Good morning, Christy Schaefer. And our lead community services specialist, Jason, is on. And I see Sydney from Community Services on, and my assistant, Zach. And BJ from Client Services, outlying residential manager. Good morning, everyone. And let's see, Associate Client Services Director, I see Tracy Brown on. Good morning, Tracy. And our Director of Adult and Clinical Services, Camelia. Hello, Camelia, as well. Did I say adult and clinical?
You
I think I
did.
meant
I
to
was
say
gonna say
intake and clinical
intake.
services. We're just going to just give you more and more titles. I was thinking
Right,
that you
right.
were probably so happy that you weren't hanging out with us at the board meeting last week. And it's good to see you today. From community services, I see Beverly on. Good morning. And then client services managers, I see Dana is on and Toby as well. Good morning, folks. For our agenda today, we're going to get into, sorry, let me slow down a bit. For our agenda today, let me get into, what we're going to be talking about. So we'll start off with our sign of the week, and then we're going to talk about our upcoming DSP stipend workshop. We're going to talk about some changes at the Department of Developmental Services. We're going to have a spotlight on our upcoming HCBS workshops from Progressive Employment. We're going to talk about some of our upcoming activities on our ACRC calendar, as well as the DDS calendar. Scott's going to give us an awesome update on where we are at with HCBS, and we'll see what other topics folks have. So I will throw it over to Michael first, and I am going to spotlight Michael for everyone.
Hi there, everybody. Just 1 second while I get everything situated. I want to make sure I can still see my interpreter. Okay, perfect. So good morning, everyone. Today's sign, well, the sign for the week, we have two here. We have coffee and we have tea. I know everybody's been looking forward to this sign for quite some time, so I thought I'd go ahead and take advantage of the time we have today to get it out there. So if you're right or left hand dominant, you're going to use your dominant hand to put on top, and it's going to make the movement over your non-dominant hand like this, the two fist shapes. For coffee, this is what coffee looks like. The next sign we have is tea. It's almost like using a spoon when you're stirring your tea. You use this hand shape, the F hand shape, over your cup for tea. So what do you prefer, coffee or tea? Let me see what everybody's answers are. Lots of coffee. We got some tea, but mostly coffee here. Yes, great. Okay, so now for Deaf Culture 101, we are going to talk about what does deaf actually mean, the definition of deaf. It is important for you to know that the word deaf in the dictionary, it says deafness is lacking the power or the ability to hear. So the first word you're seeing, or the first connotation you see here, is a negative connotation, indicating that we need to fix or solve deafness because we're lacking something. But the deaf community's perspective is different. The definition is different within the deaf community. We see deafness as representative of our culture and shared experiences within that culture. We have language, we have social norms, we have different celebrations and pride being deaf, deaf pride. The deaf community and the deaf culture, let me see if we can find another one. So deaf people already know that we can't hear, right? That's a given. But our identity, our abilities are not measured based on our ability to hear, sorry. We identify as deaf, and it might be a surprise to some people that if you ask a deaf person, would you take a pill tomorrow that would wake up and make you hearing? Just the same as everyone else. Most deaf people would say no. And that might be shocking for you, but that's because we do have that pride in our deaf identity. We don't want to become hearing. We already identify with our culture. We have roots within this culture, and we don't want to change that. So maybe you have seen presentations or Deaf Culture 101 and had some questions about how the deaf community wants to represent themselves or how education should be represented. And so basically, the definition of deafness being based on hearing isn't accurate. Deafness has rich culture and language. It's more than just hearing loss. So when you hear the word deaf, I'm hoping now your perspective will change to focus more on the culture and not just this person can't hear, they can't do something. So thank you for listening.
Excellent. Thank you, Michael. Um, let's see here. Let me go through my agenda. Real quickly, at BJ, I see that you're on here, and Michelle Duchesne had shared with me the information that you shared from CalGrows related to the caregiver training, and I was going to share my screen with it, and see if just folks are familiar with it, and let folks know that it's available. If you have any additional information about it, please unmute and share, or if any else of you are aware of it too. It was news to me, and I've been taking a look at the website, and so hopefully everyone can see my screen okay. Um, and yeah, BJ, had you known any providers yet that had tried this one? Or it looks like it's available to folks, and I will open up to any of our providers that are on here if anyone has had any staff that have taken advantage of this. But it appears to provide the ability to receive some incentive payments for participating in training. So CalGrows offers free training courses to all California caregivers, including unpaid family and friend caregivers. Paid caregivers working in home and community settings may be eligible for incentive payments for completing CalGrows courses. And then it talks a little bit about the eligibility for it, who's eligible, who's not. So I'm going to just drop it in the chat. I don't know if any of you are familiar with this and are interested in sharing. Um, let's see. Yes, some of my staff did CalGrow. Um, all right, let me put it into the chat for folks. And then any feedback that people want to give about it, that have had people do it? Like, was it easy to process the payments, or any issues, any feedback that people want to give? You can drop it in the chat too. We like having the opportunity to give out resources to folks here in this meeting. All right. Let's see. Then I'm going to kick it over to, and I'll see if I have anyone on do I have anyone on from Central Valley Training Center that's interested in discussing their open position right now for the Chief Executive Officer? I'm going to share the screen with your job posting if I can. Let's see here. All right. Are folks seeing it really big? Central Valley Training Center Inc. Okay, perfect.
Mhm.
I'm going to drop this in the chat as well. So for those of you that may be aware, there's been uh, some changes going on with the Central Valley Training Center, and they are hiring a chief executive officer. So the job description is right here. Those that have that executive experience that may be interested in something like this, please don't hesitate to check out their website or to look at the job posting that I just put there right now. Can't really answer any questions about that, but I can just let you know that that is floating around out there. Um, let's see. Let me go over to and do our spotlight actually. So let's see if we can have Progressive go over and talk about the HCBS workshops. And do I need to make you a co-host?
Yeah, I have a flyer.
Okay, make you a co-host. There you go. There you go, Kate.
Let me pull up the flyer.
And check out the chat. There's some feedback about Calrose in there, folks, for people that might be interested in looking at that for their agencies. All right, Kate.
It's not letting me share it, but it's okay. I'll put the flyer in the chat, but I just wanted to talk about that Progressive Employment Concepts will be holding our third workshop about HCBS regulations. This workshop is going to be about implementation strategies. So strategies to reimagine your services, identify areas where your services can be realigned to reflect the values of HCBS regulations, creating a plan to implement those identified service changes. We'll be holding this. We have two different dates that we will be holding these. So one is August 15th and the other is August 22nd from 2 to 4. And I'll put all this in the chat too. And this will be held virtually via Zoom. I will also leave in the chat the registration link so that you can sign up, and then I will email out the link once I know you want to come. In addition to this workshop, I also want to let everyone know that we are also doing one-on-one consultation meetings for anybody who wants to talk about things that related to the HCBS regulations or your organization that you want to reflect on or change or not sure about how to implement some HCBS regs. So that also you can register on that. If you register, then I will also put you on the list to sign up for one-on-one consultation meetings. So yes, let me know if you have any questions about it.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Scott, I feel like this might be a good time for us to transition over to an update on HCBS in general, since we certainly know that the resources are out there to be able to support any provider that is looking at getting into HCBS compliance. You guys just heard about a fantastic opportunity. You'll see the flyer in the chat, and we hope that you take advantage of that. Again, there's no such thing as smooth sailing when it comes to trying to do something like this, like implement something so large in such a short time frame. But we are making the steady progress that we're hoping for. And again, we're hoping that this is all being done in an environment where you're well informed about what your expectations are as service providers, and that you also, again, have those supports like you just got done hearing about from Progressive. So with that, Scott, how are we doing right now when it comes to HCBS? We've got some deadlines coming up.
Absolutely. We are trying to finish up every in-person review by the end of August. And they're all scheduled. You may not know when we're coming out, but the final 9% are being reviewed this month. And so we're at 91% officially of sites visited. Yay. We can see the end. It's coming. It's in view. And then we're adding another 30 days. And so by the end of September, any plans that need to be taken care of to get into compliance need to be satisfied by that time. And that's our report for each CBS.
Excellent. Any questions? Again, our goal is to just be on track to meet the DDS deadline that they put in place for us. And again, if you have any support needs as it relates to this, certainly those things are being identified while we're out doing reviews. And my understanding is, again, that you guys are, that things need to be fixed, that things are getting fixed in a very timely manner. Scott, is that correct?
Absolutely. We are at about 92%, I believe, for initial sites being compliant. And then we're seeing things get wrapped up within 30 days in most instances.
Again, it's a lot of work on the regional center behalf to, do all of these visits and everything else, but you should also be looking at this as a bit of a scorecard for you as service providers as well, right? It's taken preparation to get to the point to be able to do this, but I think you should be very pleased with, the progress that each of you have been making to get fully into compliance and for us to be able to find it demonstrated, when we go out and do those reviews. So again, supports you may need, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We definitely want to make sure that there's not any part of this process that isn't clear to you. All right. I want to jump over real quickly and I'm going to share my screen to talk about, and Michelle Duchesne is not here, so I have to do it on her behalf. But the DSP stipends. So are you guys seeing, well, it looks like an email that went from one of the assistant deputy directors. It's got our numbers on here. And so we are close to 15,000 total. We're at 14,943. To give you an idea, as far as regional centers, we are still right up there at the very top with the much larger regional centers of Inland Regional Center, North LA Regional Center, San Diego Regional Center. Again, if you want to get one that's more our size, you have to get down here a little bit further down. So again, just want to speak about all of the success that you have had in implementing this with your companies. We still have, they extended it out. We have, and I'll share our events calendar, but we do have another opportunity for you to come into our office if you'd like, and be able to do the training. Let's see real quickly. I'm going to share my screen with our regional center website and take you to that events calendar.
I have
Again,
the
I
flyer
understand
too,
that we
boss, if
had,
you want me to share.
sorry, go ahead, Jordan.
I also have the flyer if you just want me to share the flyer.
Yeah, let me actually have, well, I'm gonna bring it up in the events calendar
Okay, perfect.
with that, because I think it'll link to the flyer there. So again, I know we had our in-person training workshop. My understanding is, do you guys know how many slots we have open for the upcoming one on August 29th? Anyone?
We have a few more openings. I can check and see how many, but yeah, we definitely, if anybody would like to come, everybody's welcome.
Excellent. And we did have some DSPs that came this week to the office and did it as well.
Yeah, we had a few.
Excellent. So please don't hesitate to take advantage of this. If you would like a place for your DSPs to come and participate in this training, then it can happen. They can do it at our office on August 29th. And I will drop that right into the chat so that you guys have the flyer handy, because Michelle Duchesne does a very good job getting these, kind of events organized to try to promote the DDS workforce initiatives. Alrighty. And let's see here, going to go back to our calendar again. Sorry. So we do have a number of activities that are coming up at our regional center, and want to share our calendar here. So one is we have upcoming community meetings. That's August 7th. That's this coming Wednesday. So please log in. You will be able to hear some presentations from our executive staff, talking about, believe some of our outreach activities as well. So we'll look forward to talking for our community meeting. That's August 7th. We have an EI vendor fair. So Those of you that are in client services, hopefully you have all of your staff come and participate in the vendor fair in the office. All of you community services folks, you don't have to be working with EI vendors to come down to the vendor fair. It's very helpful to go down there, meet with our service providers in person. Again, upcoming opportunities. We have Art on the Spectrum, Southside Park play dates. We've got the training workshops, as we talked about earlier with Alejandra, so we can put that information. If you want to sign up, you can click on there. Day in employment vendor forums, early start vendor forums, residential vendor forums. You can see that we've got a few coming up next month as well. As it relates to upcoming vendor forums, and those of you that attended the supported living vendor forum, which I think was the last one that we just did. Oh no, we did an early start one, right, Helen? We just had our early start vendor forum as well. One thing that you will learn in those vendor forums, and we will continue to update you here, is that we still have not received the information yet from the Department of Developmental Services to be able to fully implement the rate study. So for all of our staff and the Community Services Department as well, we've been working to try to give DDS updated information about who we have vendored since the last time we did the rate study implementation. We met with our managers this morning. Our accounting department was working on it furiously this week, as was, Helen was looking at it. Michelle Duchesne was looking at it. We're providing them that updated information so that then they can give back to us the worksheets that we need to do the final step of the rate study implementation. So what we are awaiting still from the department is we're waiting for the directive that is specifically going to outline how we're going to do the rate study implementation. And then we're also waiting for the individual directives for each of the service codes. So we had let the SLS providers know that we didn't have that yet during that vendor forum. These vendor forums that are coming up in September, we may well have them. And if we do, that'd be a fantastic opportunity for us to go over the DDS directives with you. And again, these directives are basically going to supersede the information that is included in, I think it's both statute and regulation. It's at least regulation that defines things like service codes and billing and everything else like that. This will align everyone with the Burns and Associates rate study information. So if we have that information, we will discuss it in those upcoming vendor forums that we're planning. If we, and then if we receive it anytime soon, you could expect that we may be planning additional vendor forums, like even more in advance, if that makes sense, just to have opportunities to go over it with you all. We also hope that the department is planning on having service provider specific work groups. They've talked about this before to go over what the different directives look like. And especially when we're talking about like some of the day programming ones, some of you guys are like 055 vendors, like those community-based programs. If those are going to be changing like significantly, like you need to be, I feel like, have an opportunity to hear about it. Certainly those of you that are transportation providers are in the exact same boat. You would, I would assume, want to see what the rates are proposed to be. You'd want to see how the department came up with what those rates are. We'd want to have an opportunity to talk about what's going to happen as it relates to people that are on different rate methodologies, like the vehicle service hours versus straight mileage. So all of these things are things that we want to continue to update you on during the Coffee with Community Services meeting, but we don't have the written guidance yet from the department that we are hoping for. So just wanted to kind of provide an update about that. We're still awaiting a little bit more of that stuff. Any questions about the rate study implementation or we did learn that providers have begun filling out the service provider portal, which we've learned is the service provider directory. You're going to use the correct terms. The service provider directory on DDS's website. So people have already begun doing that. We know that we've received information that is going to be what qualifies people for the 10% quality incentive. And so again, as more information comes out about that, has anyone had any issues with the service provider directory or any feedback about the rate study that they might want to talk about? Let me go to Eric. Yes, please, your hand's up.
Not quite the question you asked, but I think it's in the topic. Deadline there was some confusion among some the groups that I was a part of about when you have to register for the provider directory. One thought it was like the next day, like it's already passed. It was in July. I've seen August 15th is the date that they're wanting folks to register. What's your understanding about the August 15th date? And if it is the final date, because that comes up really quick if it's 10% of your rate. So I'm just trying to oh, look at this. Does this answer my question? Not quite.
Just realized I muted myself.
Yeah.
So again, and I don't think I have Raven on because maybe I do have Raven on. We'll see. Oh, I don't. She's been kind of my expert in our office that's been trying to look at the time frames. I believe they are wanting to get the information submitted by August 15th. But ultimately, I thought the deadline was October 30th. And then
Okay.
that gives us time from October 30th through the end of the fiscal year, or excuse me, the end of the calendar year to verify whether or not you've done it and then like reach out to you guys or whatever. But maybe they want and everyone in by August. I would love it if they didn't wait that long and that we knew like to reach out to people and make sure that we've actually contacted them like as soon as possible. So I would just encourage folks to do it ASAP. And then Michelle, I saw your note there. You guys have a lot of programs. That's kind of, I think, why they have the service directory is that they want to, capture those types of things. I imagine UCPs will be fun to fill out as well, just for UCP of California. So can you give us, any idea, was it, an hours long process or, 10, 15 minute type of thing?
With other regional centers too, you have different program
You
numbers, vendor numbers. So, you have to multiply that towards all your programs plus. So it just, my assistant, it took her couple hours to do. You have to have your EIN number. And I mean, it's easy though. Easy. It's just tedious going through each vendor number, each regional center.
And that's the deal. It's a separate entry for every vendor number you have, basically. That's the deal.
Yeah.
Cool. Pride Industries, where you guys at? So some of us have they've got 15 vendorizations or more with some of the different companies. So
So
again,
we're hoping it's the 30th, right? I think it's just, I guess I just want to be as clear as we can be for providers that when I see the intent of this directive, but at some point there's a deadline that you need to be compliant to get an incentive. And so I see this is exactly what we are looking at. Target completion date doesn't sound like last date or else you lose your incentive, but I don't know for sure when that is. I'm hoping it's the October deadline. So just be really aware, there's a date at some point that there'll maybe be a cutoff, and I don't know when that is. So do it. I would echo what John's saying. Do it as soon as possible. Make sure that you're in there. Make sure that you've at least started. Maybe you'll have to update something, verify some information later. And just share that information, because I think if that deadline, let's say, was the 15th or September 1st, it'd be really hard to get all of the providers in all the corners of this service system. We don't want anybody missing out or not participating in it. So I think that would be good. I had another question about rate implementation. So there's so much. Can I just really quickly, in terms of like what we're waiting for, when we say rate implementation, we obviously mean updated rates for all services as far as like the wage rates. Like they're actually updating potentially all the dollars for the rates because to account for minimum wage and IRS mileage, which yay, they agreed to do that. We were really fighting for them to do that. We should have gotten that earlier, but I know it's imminent. We're waiting as soon as possible. So
and we haven't seen it yet. Like we have not seen what the new January rates look like yet.
Yeah. Just so every rate could be affected in terms of what you think your dollar amount might be. It probably is going to change before with that increase. When we mean rate implementation, we mean the folks that need whole models, like the transportation rate needs whole models. We're talking about the day program, like 055s, how those transition over. We're talking about how we switch from things like daily rates to hourly rates. This is all part of that. for programs that have different like SKUs, like day programs have a behavioral day program and a medical day program. Is that part of implementation too? When we say we're getting information on rate study implementation, does that include like, let's say how those determinations are made for types of
Yeah,
programs? Am I
yeah, exactly.
understanding?
And I want to differentiate the different types of things that we're waiting for.
Yeah,
So
that's what I was just trying
we
to
are
figure out
waiting.
what is in
Yeah,
that
that's fine.
bucket or not
That's
in
fine.
that
Yeah,
bucket.
yeah. So we're waiting for a high level directive that's going to explain how we are going to overall implement all of these things and what our timeframes are. We don't
Okay.
have that yet. We think that we're waiting that to be released by the department. That's going to go out to everyone, and it's going to say things like, this is what vendors have to do in order to get, XYZ. Like it's going to be very explicit. We're waiting for that to come out. Then additionally, for each of these different service codes, we understand that the department has authored separate directives that give very clear guidance to regional centers on how they are going to be recategorizing
Gotcha.
some of the different service providers. And then specifically in some of the cases, we know that there's at least for transportation, that there's a new rate methodology that they are proposing that is different than what is in our existing information on the website for the burns, which is the per trip rate. And we know that that is switching to a mileage rate for because the department's already let us know that, but they haven't put out the specifics. So those are the things that we are waiting for, the spreadsheets that we will receive in community services to update as we've done previously. Look at Jason got excited because he remembers doing the spreadsheets last time. So much fun. When we get those spreadsheets and we start working on them, I think that's when we'll be also checking to see if the quality incentives are done. So I'm feeling pretty good that service providers are not going to fall through the cracks as far as not being contacted and having opportunities to make sure that they get their quality incentive. And also, we meet with you guys every week here. We offer lots of opportunities for vendor fairs. And I think also any suggestions that you all have as providers to make sure that the word is out across all of our service providers. I think as things come into picture, it will be helpful for us to bring in all of our staff in, understanding what's going on. Right now, we haven't really been able to talk specifics with our service coordinators about the things that are happening because we're still awaiting for some of the specifics from the department about dates and timeframes. And our authorization is going to be moving from daily to hourly for people, for example, for programs that don't typically have hourly rates. Like some of those things need to be discussed with providers and shared, and with case management as well. So the hope is that we can get that information hopefully before like November or December, and we've got plenty of time to get everything implemented. I believe the department, we'll get the directives out soon, and we'll be looking forward to that. Any other questions about the rate study implementation or the quality incentives or the service provider directory? I appreciate the feedback. And we also know that the department does have an outside contractor as well that is supporting to make sure that we get all of our service providers into the directory. And I'm going to drop the service provider directory link from the website just so that for those of you that want to check it out, you can go take a look right there too. All right. There's new updated information. Let's see here. Let's see if I can find it on my other screen. Our friends at the Association of Regional Center Agencies do a very good job about putting out their Capital Currents, which is a little newsletter, and you can view it online. And I'm going to open it up right now and share my screen with it because there's some interesting statewide news that's going on. All right. And I think I can drop this into the chat as well for folks. So the first thing is there's a new op-ed piece that was written by Amy Westling, who's the director of ARCA, the Association of Regional Center Agencies. You guys can take a look at that. It talks about how to build an equitable service system for Californians with developmental disabilities. And the big news, the Director of Developmental Services, Nancy Bargman, has announced her retirement effective the beginning of September. So some changes over at the Department of Developmental Services. I've certainly worked very closely with Director Bargeman, since she came on at DDS about 10 years ago, 11 years ago. And certainly she has supported a lot of the things that we've done here at Alta California Regional Center, a lot of our housing activities. And so certainly we appreciate all the years of work that she's done. We also learned this week that Brian Winfield, a longtime DDS employee who is the chief deputy and has also announced his retirement. Brian goes back with Alta quite some ways. He was a service coordinator at our regional center and ran Co-Vocational, which is one of our local day programs before that. And before he went to the Department of Developmental Services. So some changes there. Again, Brian is someone that has been very supportive of a lot of our activities at Alta California Regional Center, and certainly will be missing him at the department. He's going to be taking on some special projects there. Additionally, the governor has announced the appointment of Dr. Michi Gates, who is currently who is currently the executive director at Kern Regional Center, and Michi is going to be the new chief deputy director of program services at the Department of Developmental Services. And so, again, we're very pleased to have someone with such extensive regional center experience taking on such a high level position at the Department of Developmental Services. Michi was overseeing the Sonoma Developmental Center closure as the manager overseeing the staff at North Bay when I was closing down Sonoma for Alta California Regional Center. I know many of us have had great working relationships with Michi for years and years and years, and are very pleased to see, again, someone that started off as a service coordinator, has really worked, throughout the different roles within the regional center, and then has taken on, even more responsibility now at the Department of Developmental Services. So we say our congratulations to her, and I'm sure that there will be more opportunities. I know that we met with the department last week, and they are filling a number of their management positions right now. With some kind of restructuring that's going on. So again, exciting stuff. I know like our director of client services, Michelle Johnson, was a service coordinator with Michi back in the day at North Bay Regional Center. So again, nice to have folks that we are familiar with in these positions at the Department of Developmental Services. All right. So with that, and we went over our HCBS update, I will turn it over to, let's see. I saw Jennifer Bloom and she loves it when I call on her for fun. But if we have anything from Jennifer Bloom, anything from case management, Jennifer, the ADs, or anything for today?
Oh, thanks, John. I'm always ready for you. Let's see. We will be presenting information about social recreation updates at our community meeting on August 7th. I believe that's from 11 to 12. So we're going to dedicate that meeting to social recreation. I want to thank Eric, Michelle, Eric from UCP, Michelle from On My Own, and Marie from SEPS, if she's here. We've been working closely on streamlining the processes with the FMS and social recreation, shifting families from direct parent reimbursement to getting onboarded with one of our FMS agencies. And so it's been a process, but we're getting there. We're making strides, and I'm just grateful for that. We did a training to our service coordinators this week, and we have 2 more scheduled. And then we're going to be reaching out to, we'll probably present at the PAC, the Provider Advisory Committee, and then our Client Advisory Committee, and other opportunities just to make sure everyone's aware of where we're at, and how CSS is working really hard to vendor new social rec providers. Our associate directors are involved in lots of new vendor orientation, or vendor, what's it called? VCC, consultation committee. So, anyway, we're all working.
Vendor criteria committee.
Criteria committee. Thank you, Camelia. Yeah. That's been a
Awesome.
focus this week, I'd say.
Thank you. So I got that incorrect earlier. The topic is social recreation. That's the key topic for our community meeting.
Yeah,
This
we think
week.
that will probably
In
take the
September.
most of the time when we factor in questions and answers.
With that, speaking of social recreation and the importance of it, I think I mentioned last week, and I saw that Lori sent out a message today to our staff. But having client family member come to our board meeting last week, and then hearing the discussion about the benefits of the social recreation services. And when I had the community services directors here, we were all discussing social recreation and the feedback that people are getting from our stakeholders, from our clients, from our community about offering this. So I just want to thank all of you that are working so hard to get the social recreation services out and available to people. It has been a challenge, certainly, over these last, it's been like 3 years now, 2.5, 3 years. Especially when we were, getting the camps going again and refamiliarizing ourselves. And there's still a lot that we're figuring out. And you all as service providers have been really patient, but also really supportive, and you've come out and done things that are out of your comfort zone. So just appreciate very much the efforts. And I hear about it in community meetings. I hear about it from clients and families. Those of you in client services, I hope you're hearing about it in planning team meetings as well, for people who are really appreciating this. All right. With that, I don't have anything else for the rest of the day today. I hope everyone has a fantastic weekend. We will look forward to talking to folks next week. And
John?
thank you. Oh, sorry, Camelia. Yes.
Hi, just a quick thank you to those who
Yes.
attended. We had last month Dr. Tarbox, BCBA from USC, who had flown out, and we've talked about it in this meeting. It was great turnout. CEUs were earned, and just wanted to say we got a lot of positive feedback. We've been asked when's our next event that we'll have. So of course we'll keep you posted on that, because we plan to do this on a regular basis. We are, our staff here are a certified CEU provider. So we'll keep you updated, but just wanted to say thank you to all of you who attended. Thanks, John.
He met the high expectations that our behaviorists had put on him.
Yes.
I had not seen our staff so excited about bringing in a speaker. And so that's great. We got to get hopefully we got some pictures of that. We got to maybe stick that in our next newsletter, but appreciate you creating that opportunity and us being able to promote it here. And for those of you that took advantage of it, hopefully we can provide more for the future. All right, folks, I hope everyone has a great weekend, great rest of their day. Take good care.